A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 149th episode of Together for Education webinars brought to you by Notebook. Almost 21 months ago, in April 2020, when the pandemic had just set in and schools had closed down, we at Notebook felt it was our duty to set up a platform for educators to connect meaningfully on, discussing problems they were facing with the rising need of digital education and online learning, and arrive at common solutions. Today, 148 episodes later, this platform has grown much bigger than we could have ever anticipated, all thanks to your love and support. We have discussed extremely curricular topics like digital learning and NEP and assessments, extracurricular topics like sports and theatre, topics like school finance, and even evolved topics like mental health. The success of any great motive depends on how many people it reaches. Schools across our great country do a fantastic job of grooming future citizens. But once a year, an admission season comes. Every school tries every strategy to ensure that the best and the brightest come knocking on their doors. For educators turned school administrators, this is often a nightmare task. Managing marketing, meetings, admission tests, promotions, and so much more. As schools go through these uncertain times, we take a look today at how they navigate this particular landscape. To discuss this, our first speaker today is Mr. Philip Barrett. Mr. Barrett retired as the Deputy Headmaster from the illustrious Doon School in Dehradun after 44 years of serving in education across various institutions. Mr. Barrett served the Doon School as Housemaster, Head of Department, Dean of Activities, Dean of Student Welfare, Deputy Headmaster, Second Master, and Acting Headmaster with great distinction. He also carried out a visioning exercise for the Doon School in the year 2011 through an in-depth study of a number of British public schools and various schools in the US. Mr. Barrett qualified as a leadership trainer at Wellington College, UK in the year 2000. He is also an athlete, an adventurer, and a naturalist, and we at Notebook are privileged to have Mr. Barrett as our senior advisor. Sir, a very, very happy new year to you. Thank you so much for being here. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Subayu, for that introduction. A very happy new year to you, Achin, and the whole entire team actually at Calcutta. I hope I'm visible.
Hello.
And audible.
Yes, sir. Perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, so a great topic, and it's wonderful to start the new year off with a topic like admissions. Now, no matter how beautifully designed or built or furnished a school is, it does need students to bring the campus and the classrooms to life. And this is where the entire admissions process comes in. I've seen small schools with huge waiting lists as long as my arm. I've also seen very famous and well-known schools which cannot fill up their seats. I've heard parents say often that getting a child into a good school is a very important day for them. It's as important as a child's wedding day or a day he gets his first job. I, as a teacher, of course, was fortunate to have schools for my children because I enjoyed the perks of free education. But getting a child into a good school, I can imagine, is a nightmare that I, of course, didn't suffer. The ideal, of course, for every parent would be to find the best school as close to home as possible, where the fees are affordable and the teachers and the extracurricular program and the physics and the facilities are great. But is this always possible? Most schools today have some admission systems or a policy, rules in place. They have teams, they have entire departments that takes care of the admission process. Some of these, of course, are very transparent and very, very fair. And I must say that some of these schools and their systems are rather dubious. And this often brings disrepute to the school in particular and to the teaching profession in general. Young and new schools cannot afford to be choosy when selecting students for admission, while more established schools know exactly what type of students they're looking for and go after that and get them. Older and well-established schools have their own USP and market this unique brand and culture, which parents are looking for. because these schools attract a certain type of student. Young or small schools often face many problems at the time of admissions when there's a huge demand for the few seats available. I know headmasters of small schools in my town who dread the admission times, at the beginning of the year, when they put up boards saying no admissions, seats all taken, school full, and they get so much pressure from all over that they sometimes don't even come to school. I know a friend of mine who doesn't even come to school. He runs away because they cut off his water, they cut off his electricity, and there's so much pressure that is brought on him to take students in. Older and better and more established schools often have the ability to hide behind traditions and well-established procedure. They often have alumni in high places who can be used when the going gets tough on admissions. Now, not all students are suited to all schools. I've seen some students miserable in one school and yet so comfortable and doing so well in another school. So there is a certain fit that every student looks for, and parents may not know this. Now, at the Doon School where I work, we had a full admissions department, and they carried out the entire process, right from registration. And you could register a kid before he was born or at the time of his birth. And this, of course, was followed up by a written test in 4 areas and an interview. We didn't interview parents, but we interviewed every student who applied. And we interviewed them in 4 locations all over India, a town in the south, west, and east. And of course, Doon School was the center for the northern students. The written tests and interviews were done all over the place, all over the world, in embassies, in any country in the world, because of course we were looking for a pan-India clientele. This was the policy, and we also have a quota for alumni students, which is again a unique feature. So we have to have a pan-India intake. We have a quota for alumni awards. Of course, they all have to pass the admission test and the interview. And and I can tell you that this admissions team was extremely above board. We traveled to every part of the country, and we got students who we felt would fit into the ways of our school. We often offered scholarships, means and merit-based scholarships, so that we could get students who couldn't afford the school. Now, most schools have some sort of policy, some of them are complicated, others simple, but the entire process of enrolling children into schools involves many parties. There's also, of course, as I mentioned earlier, there's a murky underbelly of schools admissions, by which I mean that there is a lot of corruption in a very honorable process of enrolling small children into school. Of course, this is because the rush for good schools and because the demand outstrips the supply. There are touts waiting to fleece anxious parents, with the promise of admissions for large sums of money. There are tutorial classes that have sprung up all over the countryside, which charge lakhs, promising, of course, that your kids will get through. What can be further removed from education? And the trauma that children suffer when they fail to make it after paying these exorbitant fees. I have often had to counsel students who did not get into our school because they suffer great pain. And I have often told students that just because you couldn't make it to our school doesn't make you a bad student. You can thrive, you can be a great success in the school you are in. Maybe this was not the school for you. Now, of course, admissions involves 2 parties. There's the school, who looks to enroll the best students that can fit into its vision and culture. It also has parents who look for the best school for their children, the best fit. And today, education is the lifeline for a good college and a good job, maybe. And parents will do anything to get their child into a good school. So how do parents shop for schools? Today, they want schools where they are close to it, because there's this policy in Delhi, of course, called the neighborhood school policy. So most people want schools that are close to their homes so that it cuts down the travel time. They look for the type of exam, either the CBSE or the ISC or the International Baccalaureate. They look for the extracurricular program, a rich program. They look at staff, they look at safety, they look at the values and culture of a school. They either go for a residential or a day school, or a single sex, or a co-educational school. There are often, of course, the pain is that a parent might choose a school which he can't afford. And this, of course, is where the, the scholarship comes in. Schools that are well endowed need to offer scholarships to get the students who can't afford them. Now, in developed countries, and even in Indian metros today, parents shop for schools like they shop for cars and residential colonies. They are influenced often by the school rating, very much like the SEAT cricket rating, as you will understand. So they look at the ratings of schools. Often these ratings aren't really very accurate, but they still go for it. They visit the schools, the school admission staff takes them on a tour, they speak to the principals, they take brochures home, and they put their heads together and see which school fits their needs. Some parents who are well off have a much larger choice to select from, because the entire country is open to them. And the less fortunate, of course, have to take what they get. And this is the sad part of it. So therefore, the scholarship committee needs to look at how they attract academically or aesthetically or athletically talented students to their schools. Often a school owner or a director will start with the idea of having a quality school with a good student-teacher ratio, small classes. But what happens is, as the school proceeds and as the demand for seats increases, even good schools that start off with good intentions become learning shops. 3,000, 4,000, no playground, poor facilities. And even these schools that I say that start well, because of the pressure of admissions, they turn into mediocre, very large schools. I've also seen excellent primary schools up to class 5 offering quality education turn into secondary schools, add classes, build haphazardly, because parents find it difficult to get admissions after class 5. So a good primary school becomes a mediocre secondary school just in order to absorb its own students. Parents sometimes prefer a co-ed school if they have a son and daughter. It just makes things easier. They have common holidays, common exams, common rules. And yet the conservative parents still look for a single-sex school. They wouldn't mind their girl and boy in 2 different schools, preferably separated by a small wall. Parents, honestly, I meet a lot of parents these days. They are quite fed up of seeing the fancy outer shells of these designer schools that promise safety, air conditioning, gyms, and heated pools and fancy dormitories. What they're looking for really is the quality of staff, the quality of the teaching faculty. That underscores everything that a school can offer. And I've seen in my town new schools that are beautifully designed. They won awards for their architecture and their beautiful campuses. They have been around for 15, 20 years. They do everything possible to get their admissions. They go abroad, they look for students abroad, they advertise in leading magazines. There's hoardings all over the town. They do road shows. And yet, none of them have ever crossed the magic figure of about 200 students. I often wonder why. And yet there are smaller schools and metros that are
Ladies and gentlemen, looks like Mr. Barrett lost power at his end. We'll just wait for a minute and hope that he joins back. Welcome back, sir.
Hello.
I think we lost power for a second there.
Yeah. I think I did lose power.
It's
So
perfect now, sir.
I just want to say that in closing, that is because of the great population that we have and the great demand for quality education, that there's a great clamor for, to get students into the best possible schools. Parents are not, they're fussy about where their kids go. And with this new education policy, and I hope post-COVID, we can have a transparent admissions policy which makes admissions to schools easier. I know it's a nightmare experience for many parents who try and get their children into school. And as I mentioned earlier, there are people around the admissions activity that don't make it easy. So I just hope that in future, students are able to get the schools they want, get the right fix, right fit. Because I said earlier, not all schools fit all students. And with that, Shubhayu, I'm going to hand this over to you. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction to the topic. We could not have asked for better. We knew we could count on your 44 years of experience to take us through some of the nuances of school admissions. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker on this topic is Achin Bhattacharya. Achin is the founder and CEO at Notebook. A chartered accountant by training, Achin was a director at Deloitte prior to starting Notebook. He has worked in India and abroad in various senior capacities in GE, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. Achin is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales, a fellow of the ICAI, and a member of CPA Australia and CPA Ireland. He is also the recipient of the prestigious Indian Achievers Award. Achin is an avid reader and a passionate traveler with keen interests in economics, history, literature, and philosophy. He is a regular speaker at various forums and chambers of commerce and also contributes articles to numerous publications regularly. He is also on the board of some of the most renowned corporates and contributes significantly to their brand strategies. Achin, over to you.
Good evening and a very happy new year to all of you. Shubhayu, I hope I'm audible.
Perfectly.
It's great to be back after the year-end break. And I welcome all of you again to today's session. Today we have a very relevant topic at hand. We'd all agree that every institution wants to be a preferred destination. And that's quite natural. But how do we achieve the same? Especially for new institutions which are coming up with so much dreams and aspirations. How do they ensure that they get their fair share, that they're able to come up? Now, a successful school is one, and undoubtedly, when we discuss this particular topic, I guess not only enrolling new students is important, but in the same breath, it's equally important to be able to retain existing students. In order to grow from year to year, it's ensured, it's really important that a good strength of students, fresh students, enroll each academic year. But what are the factors which will make a school popular? Is it just the legacy? But in that case, how will the new institutions get a level playing field? Now, the effective way is to win confidence of the parents, which undoubtedly will fetch a much better response and result in terms of admission. Now, I see a whole galaxy of factors, a host of factors, which will ensure that a school becomes really successful in terms of being able to attract quality students. Now, when we discuss this particular topic, I guess there are many different aspects to it. On one hand, of course, the communication strategy, how convincing and believable it is. Focus on values. I think very important for parents when they look for an institution to mentor, to nurture their children. And of course, the academic part. And not only the academic part, I guess the holistic growth of a child, including extracurriculars, including counseling, mentorship, the entire gamut of factors. Now, to start with, I think one of the most important issues that I want to discuss is creating brand value. Now, undoubtedly, every institution is a brand in itself, and there's no doubt about it. Now, of course, there are established institutions like what Bharat was discussing about Doon School, undoubtedly. So there's a long history, there's a long legacy. But how do we really establish this brand value, especially for new institutions? And how important is storytelling as a tool? What is the unique value proposition of the school? Is it the legacy? Is it the modern infra? Is it previous year's track record in terms of results? Is it achievement of past students? What's the unique USP? And how do we make sure that the parents are well aware of the excellence that the school provides? Now, this optimistic broadcast includes a proper face value, which actually represents the school and promotes the school. Be it parents' testimonial, be it self-talk, be it students' experience, or also equally important, how satisfied the teachers are. I think the most important aspect, much more important than the infra, of course, it's the quality of teachers who actually make a school. In today's age, undoubtedly, when we discuss about brand building, first thing that will come to our mind, and which any parent does, of course, especially when they shift to a new city or look for a school, and especially for new institutions, going through Google reviews, trying to decide, trying to understand the experience of other parents, how their experience has been. And if I take a more outside in view of the topic, from a parent's perspective, of course, there's a huge amount of concern. I guess it's one of the most important decisions for them, as Bert sir rightly pointed out. So is the school attractive as well as accessible to the parent? I think that's a very important criteria. And this whole perspective of brand building, this whole perspective of storytelling needs to be genuine. Each and every word built into it. It can't be camouflaging of factors. But how do we actually communicate it? Of course, there are various channels through which the brand can be introduced. Now, after brand building, naturally what comes in is successful marketing. Now, education as a subject is very subtle. It's very different from, undoubtedly, very, very different from any other aspect. It's a much more responsible endeavor. We try to shape up human lives. But it's equally important that parents are at least aware about the facilities that the school provides. So mere billboards or handouts don't fetch the desired results. So naturally, appropriate planning, which includes reaching out to students, updating social media pages, and also at times it's really important that as far as parents are concerned, to list out as far as parents are concerned, to make a list of factors which are important to them and to address them upfront. Now, when it comes to something like digital presence, of course, Google page, the first go-to for any parent when they try to, when they're considering a school as a possible option. Google reviews, what I already discussed, very important. Facebook page. So not just accessible to parents, but I guess photos, write-ups, videos uploaded on Facebook can be shared by parents with relatives and friends as well. What we understand at times, naturally, not only parents, but the larger family and friend circle, they also have a say because it's a very important decision. Everybody gives their own inputs. So creating a Facebook page which is dedicated to the school and which is regularly updated is a very important task that schools must diligently do. Other aspect is blog. Now, regular communication, and especially in what we are going through right now in that age, regular communication, synchronizing with in-house experts on relevant topics. So schools must regularly write blogs that can aid parents. Various topics, be it on parenting, learning styles, informative articles, on maybe on exams, on school-related newsletters, how to counter mental stress. So having blogs actually ensure the school's media presence digitally is really boosted. Similar to Facebook, of course, Instagram also comes in naturally, visual, pictorial, and graphical content. So I think these are some very, very important aspects. Now, along with traditional methods like print and outdoor, etc., social media day by day, and especially considering the fact that now the way we make our choices is gaining permanence. The other aspect is, okay, you build a brand, you ensure that you market it, but how do you actually plan and execute? Of course, from a parent's perspective, there are various factors that they're looking at. One important aspect is infrastructure, but it's not only important to have good infra, but also equally important to be able to communicate it, and communicate it with all honesty and transparency, be it in terms of facility, be it in terms of faculty. Another very, very important aspect. Also, at times, I think it's really important when parents come for admission and request a tour of the school, or maybe a virtual tour in the website. It's really important that how is the school showcased? Do they actually get an honest and transparent view? Are they taken through the entire facilities, each and every aspect? Other aspect is, if you look at things from a parent's perspective, of course, when we discuss about an institution, it's not only about the building, it's not only about the facilities. The other important aspect is what kind of value system does it represent? So the fact that school believes in a strong value system also needs to be properly exhibited. And the reason why at times many schools we see so many successful alumni, people who have made it really big in life, is also because early in life, they have subscribed to the same value system. Be it hard work, be it compassion, be it respect, be it empathy, be it perseverance. These are all important values which will really shape up the life of our children. So that particular value system needs to be properly exhibited, that, okay, this is what the school stands for. And these outcomes should not only focus on material outcomes. We are not only discussing about material outcomes in terms of numbers and matrices, which are of course important, but the intangible behavioral part, be it in terms of habits, be it in terms of, be it in terms of principles that have actually led to success. Other very important aspects, especially gaining prominence with each passing day, is of course focus on application-based learning, which I'm sure is self-explanatory with so many senior educators here. But the fact that needs to be properly communicated to parents, be it in terms of regular holding of workshops or the kind of facilities the school provide, and also the fact that, creating an inquisitive and exciting atmosphere for learning. That's what so much of emphasis parents will of course rely on. The other aspect apart from that, of course, is the support system. I think when you look at an academic institution, one of the primary concerns that any parent will have is in terms of security. How secure is the campus? Be it in terms of CCTVs, be it in terms of other rules, be it in terms of discipline. How positive and secure is the campus for children? And how is that factor being communicated to parents? And when we discuss about support system, not only the security, but various other aspects as well. For example, students, they go through so much of pressure and anxiety, especially during their adolescence, etc. So what kind of counseling does the school provide, to ensure that students have robust mental health? Do the school provide dedicated mentors or maybe for new students who are taking midterm admission, etc. Buddy system. What kind of career counseling opportunities are there? And how does it help? How does the school ensure that there's a healthy and interactive relationship between teachers and students? And again, when I'm discussing these points, I'm discussing these points more as a parent. Because these are concerns that any parent will naturally have. And the last point, which is very important, is keeping things simple. The entire admission process needs to be seamless and simple. Trying to do away with unnecessary complications as much as possible. Trying to keep things very simple, be it in terms of online registrations, or be it in terms of payment, be it in terms of the help desk or helpline numbers. The fact that people who are answering helpline numbers or at the help desk, they're well equipped, they're aware of the questions and answers. In case if there are any queries that they're not able to handle, what is the turnaround time within which they're again getting back with an answer? Because as I think Bert very rightly mentioned, that for parents, and for most parents, I guess, without exception, in spite of which strata of the society they belong to in terms of their economic appetite, I guess irrespective of that, for parents at times, admission is a very stressful experience. Even if they're fortunate enough to have multiple options or choices, but still making the right choice and considering the fact that it's such an important decision at times is very stressful. So how do schools ensure that they minimize that stress by ensuring that information is easily available at fingertips? It is transparent, is reliable, so that parents can actually make conscious choices. So I guess these are a few things that I wanted to discuss. Bert has given us a great introduction to the topic. And we have a very senior panel here today. And I'm sure they'll share their own real life experiences, which will enrich our learning even further. I thank all of you for giving me a patient hearing. Over to you, Shumai.
Thank you, Achin. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as Achin mentioned, we do have a fantastic panel lined up for you. But before we go on to the panel discussion, a little bit about us here at Notebook. We at Notebook are an EdTech platform. We produce short videos that pertain to every topic in the school curriculum. Every class, right from classes 1 through to 12, every subject, every topic would have notebook videos mapped to them. So these videos come in handy in two cases. One is when you as a teacher are taking a class. You can play these videos as a short introduction, very visual introduction to the topic that you're about to teach, giving your students a very visual grasp of what you're about to talk about. Next, the students, even months later, when they have to revise these same topics, they have access to these videos on their personal devices as well. Yes, any laptop, any smartphone, whatever device they have at home, they can log into their Notebook accounts and watch these videos over and over again until they get a clear idea of the topic. I'm going to show you now a mashup of some class 9 topics notebook videos before we move on to the panel discussion.
नमस्ते बच्चों, नोटबुक में आपका स्वागत है। इस नए वीडियो को आपके सामने प्रस्तुत करते हुए हमें बेहद खुशी हो रही है। हमारा उद्देश्य है परंपरागत शिक्षा को आधुनिक तरीके से पेश करना, ताकि हमारी ये नई पीढ़ी या आप सभी कहीं भी कभी भी इसे आसानी से पढ़ सकें।
This tale is about a kingdom where the king and minister were idiots and used to run the province in their own foolish way. This was the kingdom of fools, where everyone woke up at night and slept during the day as per the weird royal orders. One day, a guru and his disciple visited this unusual place and were surprised by the rules and regulations followed within the territory.
अपनी इन पंक्तियों में कवि समाज के सभी स्तर के मनुष्यों के बीच संबंध स्थापित करते हैं, जो कि मानवता की सबसे पहली सीढ़ी है।
Let us try to learn more about this by exploring 3 situations first that may arise between any straight line and a circle. The first situation is one where the circle and line never intersect each other. We observe that both the line and the circle do not touch or intersect each other. There can be no consistent geometrical inference from such a situation. The second situation arises when the circle and the line intersect each other at exactly 2 points.
हमें उम्मीद है कि परीक्षा में पूछे जाने पर अब आप बहुत प्रभावी चित्र वर्णन करने में सक्षम होंगे। इस पाठ में इतना ही।
The king, Louis XVI, had come to power in 1774 at only 20 years of age. The king helped the 13 American colonies gain independence from Britain.
आज हम एक कहानी दो बैलों की कथा पढ़ने वाले हैं। इस कहानी में कई सामाजिक संदेश निहित हैं जो हम सभी के जीवन से गहरे हद तक जुड़े हैं।
नोटबुक में आप सभी का पुनः स्वागत है।
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was a short mashup of some class 9 topics from Notebook. If you visit our website, www.notebook.school, or use our mobile apps for Android or iOS, you would find more than 10,000 such videos at your disposal. Well, with that done, it is now time to introduce the wonderful panelists that we have with us today. We are privileged to have with us Mr. Sanjay Kumar Singh, who is the principal of the Govind Vidyalaya Tamolia, Jamshedpur. Sir holds an MSc and a B.Ed degree. He finished his schooling from Bishop Westcott Boys School in Ranchi and his college from Jamshedpur. He has been in the education field for more than 25 years, holding different positions, including 11 years in school administration. Once before, he has been a panel member on Together for Education webinars on the topic of backbenchers and added so much value to all of us. He has now more than 5 books that have been published, and a complete series of maths and science books are in progress, which are eagerly awaited. Sir, thank you so much for being a part of the panel today. We are privileged to have you with us. We also have with us Ms. Harpreet Kaur, who is a school principal with more than 18 years of teaching and administrative experience. She has dynamic communication skills with the proven ability to lasting relationships with teachers, staff, students, and parents. She is a motivational leader who enjoys actively engaging with students and educators. She currently holds the position of the principal of SD Senior Secondary School in Kaithal. Previously, she has been the principal of the Sacred Heart School, Kapurthala, principal of a CBSE affiliated senior secondary school in Moga, vice principal and HOD of senior secondary classes, examination head and timetable at Akal Academy, Patiala, and the administrative coordinator at Govindgarh Public School at Mandi, Govindgarh, and the computer science faculty at Springdale Public School in Patiala. Ma'am has a wide array of educational degrees. To name a few, she holds a Master of English, a Master of Psychology, Master of Science Information Technology, a Bachelor's in Education, and a Bachelor of Science Computer Software Technologies. She also holds a Diploma in Desktop Publishing, in E-Commerce, and in PSBT. She was awarded the Dedicated Teacher Award at Akal Academy, Reedkheri in the year 2004. Ma'am, thank you so much for being a part of the panel today. We are privileged to have you with us. Let me start my video now and stop the share so that we can see each other. Once again, Mr. Singh, Harpreet ma'am, thank you so much for sparing the time to be here today. Would request you to please keep both your cameras on, and if you could unmute yourself, please. So, ma'am, once again, thank you and welcome to the platform today. My first question is, what, according to you, is the greatest driver of admissions into your school? Mr. Singh, sir, if you may start with you first.
Good evening to all the panel members, Notebook team, and all my dear teachers and friends who have joined this webinar. As far as the driving admission is concerned, I think the parents and teachers, the parents and students, they are the best drivers who can drive this admission part. In the locality, it is these parents and the students who say good for the school, who say what facilities they are enjoying in the school, who says what are the subject combinations, the flexibility in the subject combinations, It's all about what facilities you provide. They are the first one who go and speak out. Apart from this, no doubt in this digital world, we have to make some digital way, like having a Facebook account, then means a lot of account on Facebook, social media, where YouTube, Instagram, all these are very important nowadays. And especially after this COVID pandemic, this has become a very important part of advertisement also, because people, in spite of going here and there, they simply go through all these points and they analyze it based on this. So these are the most important part, I can say.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Harpreet ma'am, if you may ask you the same question.
And first of all, I would like to acknowledge whatever words you have spoken for me. And I would also like to mention here, this is for the very first time I'm selected as the panelist for your brand. And I would be looking forward to provide whatever information I have in my mind and what to the best of my knowledge. As far as your question is concerned, what is actually the force which is driving admissions to the school? It all depends upon what sort of reputation a school carries amongst the vicinity of 20 to 30 kilometers. The areas where I have worked, I have observed, this is my keen observation, that when you are working into a school as a teacher, as an administrator, as an exam head, as a timetable in charge, you are answerable to a number of things. And when you talk about the admissions, you are responsible for all, even if you are a teacher or you are whatever in the school. So it is not only admission panel who is actually looking forward to get maximum number of students in the school. It depends upon how well you are connecting yourself to the society, to the community where the school is located. This is the first and major point. The second is, we are well aware of the pandemic. It has worst effect on the education fraternity. I must say, we have been worst hit. And into this very scenario, how schools have worked, how well we have connected, how we have provided the services to the parents. This is also a major factor. And the third thing, according to me, which would derive more admissions to a school is how nicely you people are dealing with the parents. Because into all these years, when I have worked into these schools, I have witnessed how parents are coming to the institute, whatever their concerns are, how nicely their concerns are addressed, and what are the changes school is making into their curriculum, into their team, and what exactly are the services provided to the parents. Because to be very honest and very clear, I must mention here, no doubt education is a noble cause. But at the same time, if you talk about the private scenario, it is a corporate as well. And if you talk about the corporate theory, if you are charging the clients, you must provide the quality services. So if you look forward to enhance your business, you must provide quality to the customers. And if you are qualitative, you would be quantitative someday. It is proportionate. So I very clearly want to tell that if in case I am looking forward to get maximum admissions, I would be working upon the quality of the institute, the results of the institute, and the stability of the staff. This is must. And apart from this, how you are making your presence felt into the vicinity of 30 to 40 kilometers where you are looking forward to get and fetch the admissions. And apart from this, what next is a bigger factor, what sort of curriculum you are following and what else you are doing to enhance the quality of your education. As you have shown your videos, it is not the only thing we can do to enhance. You can provide the workshops, you can provide a lot much of training sessions, and apart from this, virtual sessions with the students in the time of COVID, when they are not physically available in the school. So it all depends upon number of factors and the commitment and dedication of the staff and undoubtedly the management of the school, which would be, increasing the numbers. This is what I have in store for you right now on this very question.
Wonderful, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Ma'am, if I may come back to something that you said a little bit earlier about the corporate setup. Now, if I look at the typical corporate scenario, a
Yes,
company
sir.
would have a marketing and a branding division who would take care of doing all this.
Very
Most
true. Very true.
schools, unfortunately, do not have a separate marketing or branding team as such. And teachers are often doubling up in trying to fill both the shoes. Ma'am, do you think a school should have a separate team, or do you think because it's education, teachers are doing a better job?
Sir, to be very honest, you are talking about a school in which we are having a limited amount to be spent upon everything. And fortunately or unfortunately, I am part of such schools only, those who are having a limited budget. And into that limited budget, we are to provide with everything to all the children. And out of those limited budget, you are to manage the things. Undoubtedly, marketing team is very much required for driving more and more admissions. But at the same time, we should not ignore the role of the teachers into it. Because I have personally worked as an admission counselor in the school as well. I have been into this particular area from last 20 years. So I have worked in every segment of a school. I am not a abrupt principal, women sitting on a chair as a principal only. I have started my career from teaching only, and then on working as an academic head, administrative coordinator, admission counselor, and whatnot. So because I have experienced all those things, so this is why with my experience only I'm telling, if in case we are including teachers of the school into the admission counseling work, that would help a lot. Reason being, because teachers are knowing what are the good parts we are having with us, what is the strong fundamental in our school, and what can be advertised, and on what pretext we have fetched that particular admission, and how to cater to the needs of those particular children. As far as my opinion is concerned, it is not that if in case you are putting up entrance test and somehow child has cleared out the test and you're providing admission to that particular child, we should look beyond, because my opinion says there is not even a single child who is not having any potential. Every child has the potential, either it is one type or the other. We should identify and we should provide the chance to prove the potentials. If in case I have been provided with, I am proving, similarly everyone should get. So including teachers into the this admission team, I really feel like that it would help a school a lot. And besides that, it would be a cost cutting as well, because every school like ours may not be having the expenses to meet. So as far as corporate is concerned, how much you are going to spend, how you are going to multiply the business, this is all depending upon the administration team.
Got it, ma'am. Thank you for that insight. Mr. Singh, sir, if I may come to you, same question, but because ma'am spoke about budget constraints, my question to you is that, sir, even without budget constraints, aren't school teachers and principals better placed to talk about the value of a particular school than some marketing team?
Pardon, sir?
Sir, what I was saying is, let's say ma'am was talking about budget constraints, right? Now, let's say even without budget constraints, if you were to assume that you have unlimited funds at your disposal, aren't teachers better placed to talk about the values of a school rather than some marketing team or somebody who's not academic?
See, no doubt budget is a major factor, but it's true that without budget also, just right from the lower grade till the upper management level, everyone, if each and every member of the school works as a team with a goal, keeping in mind the goal aim and objective of the school, if we work and sincerely we work to our job, no doubt that itself is a very good marketing. Because once I was in a webinar, not a webinar, it was a seminar, where a question was asked, what do you mean by a good teacher? All of us said whatever it came into our mind, but finally, the answer which we got from the member was, if a child doesn't follow the method you are teaching, then it's better you follow the method in which the child understands. So that is a very good teacher, and that is a good teacher, I can say. See, even in our school life, 5, 6, 7 teachers must have taught in a particular class. We remember 1 or 2 only, because due to their quality, due to their approach, their friendliness, and these are the factors. So keeping all this in mind, if each and every teacher, principal, management, everyone, we work with the goal and aim and goal and objective of the school, no doubt that itself will do a marketing. And one more thing is, it's always said that in today's life, jo dikhta hai wo bikta hai. So that is also one very important factor. We may have found everything, but if we are unable to show it to the people, kuch nahi bikega, sir. Recently, we were in I was going through some videos, and one of a lady from IIM Ahmedabad, she was saying that you have to understand the customer, what he wants, in what way he wants. Simply taking things and sitting in a roadside, you will not be able to sell it out. Best example, Ramdev Baba, you can see all n number of products he is selling. So it's very important that we should learn to sell ourselves also. That is also in today's life, it's very important. Apart from fund and everything, we should learn to sell ourselves, and each and every member of the school should be aligned with the same type of thought and talk or whatever it is. When we talk about the facilities, when we talk about any system, any procedure, each and every member should be in the same line. It's not so, suppose a parent comes at the reception, whatever he has been told, the same parent, he may meet some other teacher at some other place. If there is a difference in dialogue, that also creates a problem. So that is very important. Apart from budget and other things, these are the areas working together as a team, all aligned towards the goal and the aim of the school, then trying to sell ourselves. No doubt for this, we need to do this, because see, parents, they are ready to pay, no doubt. They are ready to pay, but they should see, they want a quality education along with safety and security of the child. That is very important in today's day. So apart from budget also, there's a lot which we can do for advertisement and other things, just to drive in the admissions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. But staying on the point that you just made, jo dikhta hai wo bikta hai. Sir, as you know, there are enough ratings out there, right? Every magazine you open around February, March, there are top 10 schools in your city and top 10 schools by region and so many other rankings. Now, the thing is, not all of these are extremely unbiased. There is obviously a bias towards older institutes because they have that long history attached to them. Sir, if your best friend were to come to you and ask you as an education professional that I have a child that I want to get admitted, what should I be looking for in a school? What would be your top 3 or 4 criteria? What should a parent judge a school by?
So in one line, if I say that my school is the best school, why? Because maybe my children, along with my teachers' children, they are studying in this school. And this itself proves that my school is the best. So in one line, I can give the answer of all his queries.
Well, sir, I think that's a fantastic answer. But if you had to look at it a little more objectively, what would be like 3 or 4 things that you would look for in a school? Let's say if you were not a teacher, what would you be looking at?
See, first thing, to we can see the academic means history of the school. That is one very important part, where 10 and 12, mainly 12 results, then the placement of the students are there, then the discipline part, flexibility in the subject, that is one major. Then what are the extracurricular activities? And apart from this, if the school is not too old enough, if it is say 20 years, then it should, if there is a very good alumni system, you can, by that also you can judge up to some extent. So if we see all these aspects, I think it's quite enough to judge a school whether I should put my child in that or not.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. Harpreet ma'am, same question to you. You have an unfair advantage of being administrator, teacher, so many other things. So we would like a list of attributes.
Yeah, sure, sir. Before providing the answer as a principal, I would like to answer this question as a parent. The first thing would be clarity of mind of a parent, where exactly I want to send my child. What should be the path on which my child should lead. So the first thing would come to my mind is the selection of the board. Which board I would like my child to study in, either it is international, center, or state. Then depending upon the board, what easily accessible institute is available near to me. And then comes to the reputation of the school, how long the school is in existence and what sort of scholastic results the school holds and who exactly are the alumni of that institute. Apart from these factors, what is the staff stability? How much stable the staff is? And what exactly is the administration of the institute? How nicely people are knit with each other? How conducive is the atmosphere? So all these factors are majorly affecting the study of that particular institute where I would like to, get my child enrolled in. Apart from all these things, one major factor is how much staff is connecting to the child, to the learner. Until and unless there is no connectivity of child, the student, the learner with the teachers, with the head of the institute, if they are not taking personal interest into children, into students, and they are not looking forward to what exactly are the needs. So I really feel these are the major factors which I would be looking forward as a parent before admitting my child to an institute. This is it.
Wonderful, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think between the two of you, there's a wealth of advice right here. If parents were to watch this video later on YouTube, this would be a ready reckoner of things to look at when they're choosing a school for their children. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for making the time. Unfortunately, because we've reached 6 o'clock, so we'll call it to a close. But this has been a fantastic experience for me personally, and I believe this has added a lot of value to each and everyone who is listening. Up to me to do the quick thank yous. So first of all, Bharat sir, thank you so much for making the time to be here today. I think, sir, you have the added advantage of having retired from the system, so you get to call a spade, and especially shedding light on those other practices that certain schools indulge in and how parents should not be swayed by that was a very, very important point. So thank you so much for highlighting that.
Thank you so much, Subhayu.
Thank you, sir.
Sajay sir, I think your idea of having the entire community as a marketing system is beautiful. When the community supports you as a school and they see the value of what you offer in terms of education, in terms of character building, and they kind of believe in that system, that becomes a huge driver for your admissions. We completely understand that and respect that. So thank you so much for bringing that to the fore.
Thank you, sir.
Harpreet ma'am, thank you so much, sir. Harpreet ma'am, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for providing such a platform. Thank
the
you.
only time that you would be on this panel. We would love to have you back sometime. And ma'am, your experience in particular, I mean, I have rarely come across this kind of varied experience where you've been a teacher, an administrator, a counselor, and now a principal. Gives you a very rare insight into schools' workings. And thank you so much for sharing that experience and expertise with us, ma'am.
I'm privileged, sir. I'm privileged. Thank you.
The privilege is entirely ours, ma'am. Thank you so much. And to all of you who joined us back, thank you so much. I wish we had a great start to the year and we wish to keep continuing thanks to your love and support. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for listening. We wish you a fantastic rest of 2022. Take care, stay safe, and good night. We'll see you soon on our next webinar.